Welcome everyone to Not That Media. My name is John, and in this series of videos I will be giving 31 film recommendations across 31 days. I'll be giving brief, spoiler-free synopsis and highlighting a particular scene that has made this one of my personal favourite films to watch in October. There will be something funny, something spooky. It won't always be Halloween, but there will be certainly some scary stuff in there. So come along with me as I count down my 31 days of Halloween. 2011's Paranormal Activity 3 takes us back to where it all begins, and the activity has never been more intense. The cameras are on and recording the chilling first moments that the evil begins to terrorise young sisters Katie and Christy for the very first time. As part of my first 31 days of Halloween, there was no question that I was going to include a Paranormal Activity. I think it's easy to forget in 2024 because of all the supernatural and ongoing franchises we have, that back in the day, when Paranormal Activity burst on the scene, it was synonymous with Halloween. It had dethroned the Saw franchise as the reason to go to the cinema at Halloween, and with Michael Myers nowhere in sight, it was left unopposed for so many years. There are 8 movies, so perhaps arguably one of the challenges that I would face is to select one film. Which of the 8 movies is, if I had to tell you to watch one movie as part of your spooky season, which would get the cake for that one? And in my humble opinion, it is Paranormal Activity 3. Now, the rest of the franchise all have the advantage over Paranormal Activity 3 in that they're set in the at the time modern day, which means all the technological advances, Xbox 360 Kinect cameras, CCTV, internal monitors, mobile phones, etc, all this technological advancement is there and only adds to the ongoing storytelling. But Paranormal Activity 3 rewinds, having found a box of VHSs that show the early days of Katie being haunted. How would you show that from the 80s perspective? Back in the day, there was none of these technological advancements. You only had those massive cameras that you practically had to be a WWE wrestler to carry around. They were so big and heavy. How could you achieve the same level of fear, suspense and terror, etc. That you would in the other films? That's what Paranormal Activity 3 does, and it does it really well. It shows what you can do with this franchise if you take away all the niceties. It focuses more on character, tense scenes, development and paying attention. So when I sat down to think, okay, what is the one scene that if I said to somebody, this is the scene that encapsulates Paranormal Activity 3 and why I love it, what scene could it be? And the answer is actually really simple. It is the ghost scene. Now when I say ghost scene, that sounds a little bit odd because of course we're talking about Paranormal Activity, and if you haven't seen the franchise, it does advertise itself to begin with as a haunting franchise, but that's not actually quite the truth when you go through it. But the scene I'm talking about involves a babysitter. As these weird things start to happen, Katie's mother's boyfriend has the great idea to bring in a couple of extra cameras. He is a wedding photographer, a wedding recorder, so he has all these extra cameras. But the problem that they seem to have is that they think that Katie might be doing all these things, but because the cameras are locked in one position, they can never get her. They can never prove it's her until the boyfriend has this fantastic technological advancement in his mind to dismantle a motorized motion fan and place the camera on top of it, which for the first time in this particular film gives us motion on the camera. We get this fantastic one shot going backwards to the left showing the living room, coming back to the right, in sync, nicely timed, very well done. So what we see in this scene, which I think is one of the best scares in the whole movie, arguably maybe even the franchise, is this babysitter. The girls are upstairs, they're asleep, the girl is sitting at the table doing nothing. She's just waiting. The camera follows her, it goes to the left, there's nothing in the living room. It goes to the right, she's sitting there doing nothing. It goes to the left, we see a sheet, a figure in a sheet. It goes back to the right, every time moving, being obscured. You can't see her, you can't see the ghost. It goes backwards and forwards, so every time because there's a beam in the middle, that's how they showcase this. You have the living room on the left, you have the kitchen on the right, and the beam down the middle. So every time the beam passes, you lose sight of the girl or you lose sight of the sheeted figure. Now, of course, you could argue at first glance, oh my goodness, it's obviously Katie or one of the girls messing around, because it's been established that these girls like to mess about. But this slow, long long shot keeps happening. There's no music, there's no over-the-top sound effects. This ghost is getting closer and closer, almost to the stage where it can touch the girl, and then a noise takes place. The girl turns around to look, and the sheet drops. And of course, by the time the girl turns, she sees the sheet on the floor, picks it up, looks at it, doesn't think too much about it, and walks on. It is a masterclass in suspense. There's no gore, there's no violence, there's no over-the-topness in it. It is so chillingly simple that that one scene in itself, for me, is one of the best technologically devised scenes, with the camera moving backwards and forward. It's directed so well. The effect is so simple, so practical. And yet when it happens, the first time I saw it, it was genuinely a frightening moment. That was a proper hair on the back of your neck stand up moment. This is why I love Paranormal Activity 3. This is why I recommend you watch this film. There are so many other scenes, the Bloody Mary scene, so many different things to see in that film. But if you haven't seen this movie and you want to know one scene, YouTube that one scene. And if you like what you see, you'll love the rest of the film. A real strong recommend. So until next time, stay scared.
We're not going to Grandma's house, okay? We're not going to Grandma's because there's no Toby, sweetie. There's no Toby and there's no ghost. Hey, don't run away from me.